I think that Pulsechain needs, and it keeps going through this over and over, which people don't like it, but it kind of has to happen. Shakeouts. Shakeouts have to happen. So if you have, let's say you have like way too much value in the system before it launches, you now have in all those people's minds, you have like this hope that you'll get that value back relatively quickly. So let's say the sacks were like they were over $1 billion, 1.5 billion or whatever they were, right? Well, that much value has not flown into Pulsechain afterwards. And the way all this works is like for every dollar put into a liquidity pool, like somebody else can take $1 out. That's just how that's literally the math. Somebody brings $10 into Coinbase and then buys a coin, and eventually it ends up in a pool somewhere. Somebody else can take that out and send it back to Coinbase, and there's $10 to be had, right? So unless we have billions of dollars flowing into Pulse, like people have to lose. So that means there has to be a shakeout. You have to have these people that get so frustrated that they leave and sell at a loss. So eventually, the long term believers who are buying the dips, etc., we can start to go up again. And it sucks, but especially with things that have a large number of users at the very beginning, you have to go through these shakeout periods, and you have to go through them over and over. That's just the reality.
I think you're very correct on that. Also, when you have users coming in from the legacy fiat system, it's hard to get that light bulb to go off to break that system out of a user, and then for them to come into crypto and actually respect the product they're buying. So in the case of sending buying or grabbing $10 and buying a coin on Coinbase and ending up in a farm, well, those who respect the product itself, which is crypto, will see it as or value it very much the same as if they were purchasing something in a physical world, right? So when we say we're losing something, we have to get the new user to understand you're not losing anything. You still have the product itself. But what I'm seeing is most users are not seeing it that way. And that's what causes these shakeouts. And maybe words help as well, but the respect for the product itself is really what caused these fast shakeouts and people not believing that they have a product. They think they're just on some magical fake digit train or whatever,
Like carpet ride. People
Right, right.
people need to stop hoping and dreaming for a magic carpet ride from Richard pumping their bags, because while that's cool and he may continue to do that from time to time, we don't need to like think that that's our only hope. We need to get
Right.
new people in to play with these products, and um, a lot of the
And
legitimate.
to respect them as well. So they have to respect the product as if they respect their physical product in the physical world, right?
Mhm.
So that's the connection, right? That's we have to get new users to see that, hey, this you are purchasing a valuable product, because we have to get them to the point where they're respecting the product as if they were respecting that 90-inch television screen they purchased off of Amazon. You know.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people will get into these protocols, even Pulsex and the farms over there, or PHUX, or Liquid Loans, or Earn Protocol, and they buy the things for the tokens, and they don't understand how to use the system. They don't
Mhm.
understand how to generate the yield, how to collect the fees, and then when the number doesn't do what they want it to, like within a week, they're like, "Oh, this is done. The number just went down." When the whole time they could have been earning some sort of yield. right? Because they just didn't learn.
Right. They're we have to realize that they're coming directly from years and years and years, their whole life of legacy system, right? The fiat system. So they're going to expect Rome, if you will, when they come to crypto. And of course, it don't matter what chain you're on, we're still building out, and we're not as old as the fiat system. So it kind of creates a friction or static.
It is cool when Richard pumps bags, but it always makes me laugh. It's like everybody throws their money in a box on the way in the door, and then go sit at the table. And everyone sits around the table staring at each other, waiting for the door guy to dump a bit of that money on the table. And the first one to grab it, scoops up as much as he can and runs away. Like, that's what I always imagine in my head when Richard uses the OA wallet, or whoever has control of the OA wallet, to pump the chain. It's like, well, that was our money to begin with. Like, we could have been pumping the chain this whole time. Like, imagine if there was never a SAC at all, and it was like, okay, well, just a different sort of distribution of tokens. Every one of us here would have bought a Pulse this entire time. The number would have gone straight up. Continues. Instead, it kind of drained everybody. And now everyone's sitting around this table waiting for the guy to dump the money in the middle of the table because they're out of money. And because they've been out of money so long, the moment they get a chance to grab some, they eject. And to me, it's all a little bit silly. That's not how any other chain has ever operated. We know that's how Richard likes to play, and it can lead to really big gains. There's a lot of risk involved in that too, though.
What are a few examples of the risk?
Well, the risk is like, these games are fun and all, but it's diverting everyone's attention away from what's actually going to create longevity in the chain, which is new users. If you believe that, let's say Richard didn't exist, okay, it was just you and the chain and everyone else, you would have a huge, strong motivation to have somebody dumping that money in the middle of the table, and it wouldn't be Richard because he'd be out of the picture. So you would, I think there would be way more outreach. Instead, now you get a whole bunch of people that just sit around with their thumbs up there waiting for Richard to pump their bags.
In my
Do you
opinion.
think we've Pulsechain has been infiltrated
What do you
Oh,
mean?
what do you mean?
Yeah, what do you mean?
as far as creating that narrative that, oh, we're waiting on, or the reason, or something spearheaded people to wait on Richard?
Well, you see it a lot. Every time the OA moves stuff around, like, the influencers immediately start tweeting the hell out of, oh, look, it's doing this and it's doing that and it just bought this. It's like, okay, but that shouldn't be necessary, first off. In a perfect world, I would like to see the OA never spend a single penny on pumping our bags, because our bags would be pumped from all the new users flowing in to use all the tools.
Yeah, I think that's just a bonus when money does come into the system. Like if Richard decides to, put a little in, then yeah, that's awesome. But I think the whole narrative of waiting for Richard to pump money is more of the guys that sacrifice and are either at this point we shouldn't be underwater. I mean, there's so many plays that we should already be above our, whatever our sack amount, but yeah, I mean, it should just be treated as a bonus. Like, yeah, Richard should be considered another user on the chain, not the salvation of the chain.
Yeah, I don't think anybody should be down at this point.
No, not at all. Most people at least made a 2x so far, at least.
I think maybe giving a nod to some of the folks in this room, like what Pulse does continue to need is like awesome products, right? Like, Power City is doing pretty good. Liquid Loans doing pretty good. Neil, I know, partnering, I guess the term partner with P2X, like we need to have good products like that. And then also especially, giving a nod to Sunny D, he's going to be releasing Die Hard, I believe, this weekend. Like, we need to have great products, come in right now. It feels like it's meme season. Like, we need to, like, Pulse needs to have, what's in season available in our Pulse, ecosystem as well too. So we just need to continue building, right? I mean, that's a big thing. Like the chain has to stand on its own, and the only way it's going to stand on its own is to have great people building great products, and that's going to begin to attract folks into our ecosystem.
I think Richard is creating those products, though. He's creating the great products. We're just not wanting to accept that for some reason. A lot of people aren't. The Atropa system is a full suite of decentralized financial products that the crowd is currently ignoring for some reason.
I'm
Um,
not.
he's also that's good. Um, he's also he's he's doing so much to peg Pdai, and it's all on chain. But we still have people coming out and being firmly against it when they haven't fully researched the topic, which I find bizarre. Like the stuff that you said on this call, just us, Jesse, and like for however long, is just like it's got to be. It's either one of two things. It's either uneducated and you don't want to do the research, or you are on purposely trying to deceive people to get more market share for your stablecoin and your loan protocol whilst you can. They're the only two possible scenarios. So which one is it? Because I personally feel like you need to accept that you should go away, go through the 99 at capital posts, look what's actually happening on chain before you come out and you will have turned people off getting millions of dollars worth of Pdai, which at the moment is looking much more likely to be part of Richard's plan than not.
So all I'll say in response to that is the other stablecoins on chain, the other three, are fully backed, fully redeemable. They're not broken. They don't require some mad fixing to make them work. They just simply work.
The reason, but can you not see why there would be benefits to launching incomplete so people can then speculate? Do you not see the benefits to the story that he's able to create?
You mean the story of him blocking any mention of Atropa or Pdai on his X? What are you talking about?
No, I'm
What do you
talking
mean him?
about
What do you mean his
create.
story? Are you talking about Richard?
Yes, Richard is going to be
Yeah.
able to have for the first time in history, a volatile asset that's turned stable, create new millionaires, and also double the size of all the EDI holders' bags. That's the massive story. That's the advertisement. That's why he hasn't been streaming. That's why
So
marketing is
that's
not part. That's
so
why
you're
marketing is
saying
not part of the
that's
thing.
why
And then
Richard is
one
not
second, 1 second.
streaming.
You said wait, one
So
second. You
you
said
literally
you
just
no no
said
no no no
that's
no no.
why
You
he's
said
not
no 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 no
streaming.
no. You said hey, one sec. You said that he hidden the replies. Okay, by that logic, he also hid the replies about him buying ETH from the Sack wallet. So by that logic, he's hiding all the replies of the stuff he's doing in the background. Like use your brain, man.
Well, I'll tell you this.
Well, hold on. Let me reply to that. Actually, I think I think it's good to have positive and negative positions on everything. I think the community needs to hear the pros and cons to make a more informed decision. The let's say for example, all the points that Jesse's making should inspire people to research. Definitely don't want to be. What I do not agree with is having an echo chamber of only like positivity, like we need to hear the points and counterpoints, and I think that's going to help people make the right decisions for them.
I think I
So
think
I
I
appreciate
agree. I
hearing those
agree. I agree with
perspectives.
that. I agree with that. I think that I'm a little bit skeptical because he's got a loan protocol that works the same way as MakerDAO and he's got his own stablecoin. It just feels like it's coming from a place that is not right.
No,
So,
we're all compromised. We're all compromised.
so
As
let me.
a PDI
Well,
holder,
first
I'm
off, it doesn't work
compromised.
the same way as Maker. But that being said, it works already.
Yeah, but if you launched it and it already worked, it would be a stablecoin already, and then you don't get the massive advertisement and the world news of a volatile asset that turns stable and creating new millionaires within the ecosystem. There's tons of benefits to it being incomplete, and then you're seeing he's doing all the steps that you need to do to then make it complete. Like increase the supply so he can have more millionaires within the system. Stop increasing the supply. Turn off the minting function. Start collateralizing the vaults. He's already started collateralizing the vaults, and this isn't something that happened pre-testnet. This is something that's happening within like days ago, and it's been consistently happening. If you go on 99 Capital's posts, you can see that he's even been buying PDAI himself. Like it's all
Richard,
there. It's all
Richard
there. It's all
is
there. But like I don't
Richard
feel
is
like you are
doing.
evidence. I don't think you're looking at evidence and wanting to find evidence. There's anything contrary to what you want to believe, which is my projects are going to be okay because Rich is not about to release something that's going to blow them out of the water.
What about the thought that it's already stable and it's just not stable to $1, and you can't look at anything but $1 for it to be stable to? Like everything from Ethereum on our chain.
Very lengthy, summaries and threads on what people are finding. But the question is, based on some of the things that have happened, I'm under the assumption that there was actually some transactions made and a payout made that allowed Pdai to function a certain way on Pulsechain, that allowed minting and then stopped minting at a certain point. How would that be possible
So
if someone didn't give the ability for that to happen
you're talking
on
about
Pulsechain?
the thousands of voters over in Maker?
No,
Okay,
I'm talking
would have to sell their tokens to an
right, but
entity on
that's not. I
Pulsechain,
heard that. I heard that. Just for
right?
sake of time, my question is, if they can show that there was actually change made that allows changes on Pulsechain to the code to allow minting and then not minting, wouldn't that prove that someone on ETH gave permissions to someone on Pulsechain to do certain things in the actual code?
Okay, so but for that to happen requires for the vote to happen,
Yeah,
or
but that's not my point. My point is, if we can show that it did happen on Pulsechain, that proves that whoever was in charge of this group of people that would give the permissions, they actually did give the
but
permissions, because it's impossible to happen without it, right?
but nobody's in charge of this group of people. They're random thousands of people around the world.
But that's not my argument, Jess. Like, that's not my argument. Or that's not even my thesis, right? I don't care either way. I'm saying that your argument is it's impossible for any changes to be made without this voting mechanism. Okay, let's say I agree with that. But if we can see that changes have been made and it's impossible for those changes to be made without that group of people saying, okay, here we go, what would that speak to you about? But what would that say? How would that inform how you look at this at that point? If changes actually have been made to the minting and unminting functions that could only be given.
But some of those are automatic. Look, if you take the base code, okay, and you grab the hash from the base code at the moment of the fork and compare it to the base code today, it's going to be the same code. Nothing changed. There's no new commits made to Maker.
No, right. So that's what I was saying to you earlier, is
but
that
there are
what
certain
if there's
functions.
mechanisms happening
Yes,
that bypass the necessity for Pdai to peg in the same way that it's designed to peg on Ethereum?
Hey, let me just shut this conversation down because I'll just give you the facts. All right,
Coach, come in productively with a good posture, Coach, please.
Hello,
Yeah,
welcome, Coach.
100%. Yeah, so does anybody seen the MakerDAO endgame talking about sub DAOs in different communities? And their goal is to collateralize DAI with over $100 billion backed by crypto. So the transactions has already been there. Have you seen about Spark protocol yet, Cheste? Spark protocol.
They've always gone back and forth on that, though. Okay,
No, it's not.
But
It's not
that
back and
doesn't.
forth on that.
But that doesn't mean that one single entity just gives that permission to Richard, who then collateralizes or makes a sub DAO on Pulsechain. It still requires all those voters to come together and either vote with their tokens or give their tokens to somebody else, which never happened, so that one single entity can make a vote.
Okay, so who just deposited about 143 million DAI into the Maker contract, basically becoming one of the biggest governance of Maker?
That doesn't make him there's two different tokens in Maker. There's the Maker token itself, and then there's DAI. Depositing DAI into the Maker contract doesn't give you the governance tokens, which is the Maker token. What are you talking about?
Then
There's a two token system, dude.
they're the same contracts. They do the same type of capabilities. And the
But
only thing, do you know
depositing
about
DAI
the
does not
tornado
give you any.
cash?
Depositing DAI doesn't give you any power over voting. You have
So
to
do you
go
know the
acquire
Maker
them.
or the tornado cash? Do you know about the tornado cash? And then there was a change on Pulsechain DAI system back in July. Do you want to know about that?
Okay, well, let's go back because you just skipped over what I just said. Depositing Dai into the maker contract gives you the ability, like, it doesn't give you any ability to vote. Maker token itself is what you have to acquire to have any voting privileges. Two token system.
Okay,
You
okay.
can't
With
you
that
can't
same
you
kind
can't
of
run
two
off to
token
the community.
system,
You can't run off to the community and say, "Oh, look, Richard deposited a bunch of Dai. Now he gets a vote." That's not how it works.
okay. Well, if you say that he doesn't get the vote, at least he's making over like $800,000 of DAI a month in yield.
Sure,
What do you think that
but
possibly
Is
could
it
happen
also
in the
true
future?
that
on a
doesn't
different
Richard?
chain. But then tying that back into, oh, it must mean that he's involved with the Tropa. That's like where the line is drawn, where it's like, wow, that's a lie.
Well, my biggest thing is, Coach, is if in fact that one can prove that permissions on Pulsechain from the fork were given from people on ETH who only had the power to give it, allowing activity on Pulsechain to be done that could only be done by that group of people Jesse is talking about, that would speak to something that has happened. So I think that if you can prove that in fact on Pulsechain there has been permissions given to do certain things that could not have been done without that group of people, that would say something is happening, would it not?
Yeah, 100%. And then also, who was the first liquidity providers for Pulse and Pdai on V1? It's the same kind of wallet that's connected to another wallet that has 6 trillion Pulse.
Yeah, of course.
So
That's the
let's
maker.
do
That's the
one plus
AMM
one
bot.
equals two. There it
Oh my God.
goes.
No, but he had to do that. He did. Rich, look, all the
He
ERC,
he
all,
also extracted LPs too.
of course he did. He had to. There's a supply difference between the quantity of pulse versus what ETH quantity was, right? He had to go around and use pulse, which he minted out of thin air for himself, and buy up as many ERC20s as he possibly could from all of the different locations. And even possibly try and mint some from as many locations as he possibly could, so that he could take those and create those pairings inside of Pulsex at the correct ratio. Yes, that's a given. He had to do that. Otherwise, we would have ended up with an ETH-W or an ETH-Fair sort of thing, where the prices are out of whack and everything goes to zero quick.
All right. So then, who owned those DAI? Who owned those wrap
Well,
Bitcoin?
when
Who
he
owned
purchased,
what wallet? Who owned all that
we
before on the fork once it got copied over?
the liquidity
That
providers
amount.
own them until they were purchased using the native gas coin with the fixer bot. Then at that point, it drained those pools, and whoever owned the wallets that ran the fixer bot then owns all those ERC20s now and can redeploy them wherever he wants to at the correct ratios.
So, but Jess, when you use the legality issue that he couldn't do this or that because of a legal issue, the same thing would apply with the automatic market maker fixer bot. I mean, you're basically
No,
going
because
in
you're
there and
purchasing.
taking people's money.
No, you're purchasing. You're buying them. The smart contract lays out the rules, X times Y equals K, or whatever the formula is. You purchase them straight out of the pool. You're leaving them with the thing. You're leaving them with impermanent loss or gain, however you want to look at it. You're leaving them with something, and you're taking away the other thing per agreement of the smart contract. You're not just like stealing from their wallet. You're buying from them out of the liquidity pool.
Well, if the first transaction ever run on the network was an AMM bot that doesn't even give you the ability to take out your tokens on a fork, there's easily a precedent that can be made that can stole my fork tokens.
Between PRAP Bitcoin and PRAP DAI, so intertwined with the actual Bitcoin or the Bitcoin price. Can you answer that to me? And how is it possible for that to happen without a plan?
You say P wrapped Bitcoin.
So if you do one PRAP Bitcoin
Mm-hmm.
and do that to Pdai, the ratio is not exactly perfect, but the ratio is mimicking the same kind of price as Bitcoin.
Yes.
It's not 100% because what really matters in crypto? Supply, speculation, and liquidity. Liquidity.
I think if you zoom out a little bit and look at the entire airdrop as a whole and don't just focus on one thing like DAI, you'll see that everything is still in parity to some sort. It's all tied together in the forked liquidity pools on V2 and whatever on Uniswap.
100%, man. Just all in your mind, just 100% negative, and everybody's going to get wrecked on this thing. And that's a sincere question. I mean, we know each other, man. I'm not, you know. I mean, what if there's mechanisms that people just don't understand? It's kind of just next level right now, or is that just a bullshit narrative coming out of Amando's mouth? Like, it's not even a narrative; it's just a question.
It always goes back to I hear a whole lot of, well, this could happen, or what if this happened, or it might be Richard. But every shred of what people believe to be evidence there's actually a legit explanation for. Now, we don't know what all the wallets are, and there are certain functions that are automatic, like Maker system, for example, has some systems that shut themselves down automatically when the oracles stop talking to each other. There's certain things that happen that make it so you can't mint anymore. It won't let you because the oracle isn't telling you what the price is, so it doesn't know how much Dai you're allowed to mint off of your collateral, right? So when people say, oh, well, somebody turned off the minting, it's not that anybody turned it off.
Billions of dollars made, and somebody can correct me if I'm totally wrong, but and after that payment was made, it allowed for these functions to start happening. Somebody else can tell me I'm not a master on this thing whatsoever, but through this whole journey, there's been things that have been happening.
No,
That go ahead.
I was just gonna say no. I've heard that too. I've heard that from several. I'd like to know more about that if we have more information.
Yeah, Coach was starting to talk about that Tornado Cash transaction, but ended up having to go, and I don't know enough about it to speak on it. But look, guys, we're 161x or so away or less from Pdai going to $1, which back when we started was just a joke. Got memeified on Pdai going to $1. That would be, wouldn't you think, Jesse? That would just be astronomical.
I do think that's incredible. Now, I'll disclose, when the chain first went live, look, I'm kind of a stablecoin maxi sort of guy. Load of stablecoins, and I like earning yield off them. Why? Because you can't, unless one depegs down to zero, you can't really lose money. There's plenty of places to stake different stablecoins: Curve, Convex, PHUX, Liquid Loans, all these places, right? And the number only go up, right? So when Pulsechain went live, I made sure that I had a boatload of Dai. And the second that thing went live, I dumped every single bit of it. I got hundreds and hundreds of millions of Pulse, right? Because at that moment in time, the chain the pools believe that one Pulse should be equal however many Dai, right? And the price went down, and it went down hard, and it continued to go down. It's kind of funny because it still hasn't made it back to $1 where I sold at. Now, no, I didn't buy the bottom, but for guys like me, and I'm not the only one, to have extracted all that value, and then for other people to believe that, oh, I bought the dip, now Richard Hart is going to back all this, so that they can get some value out now. It's just
So Jesse,
it's a weird narrative.
I'll tell you. For me, I don't. For me, I bought that dip, but I didn't buy that dip because I think Richard Hart has anything to do with it. I still don't think Richard Hart has anything to do with it, to be honest with you. There's no proof of that. There's other people, in my opinion, that are doing something with this protocol, and it's not Richard Hart. Richard could be doing stuff in terms of buying stuff. I don't know, but it doesn't. Everything on chain, on Pulse Chain, doesn't require Richard Hart to be doing it. There are bigger players. I mean, are we dumb? Are we so dumb to think that people didn't have the foresight ahead of this fork to buy things and to stake assets and to position themselves through this fork, knowing that all these things were going to happen if they're kind of higher level devs? I mean, I would imagine that there was a lot of positioning going on prior to the fork to do some of these things. And Richard did talk about somebody contacting him to do something with the maker to make a stable coin on Pulse Chain that has to do with Pdai. He fucking said it in the video.